Hello, everyone. My name is Renz Presto. I am in my last semester of my business administration degree, and I'm majoring in accounting. And so, for my book review proposal for this class, I chose the ethnography called Moving Crucifixes in the Modern Spain. The author of the book is William A. Christian, and it was published in 1992, and then it was republished by the Princeton University Press on April 19 of 2016. The author, William A. Christian, is a historian and anthropologist who focused on religion in Spain, and this book looks at the fascinating topics of religious miracles in modern times. Why this book? If you were wondering, why am I choosing this book? I am a Christian myself, and so when I saw this topic, I instantly wanted to do it, as that is something I can relate to and find the topic fascinating. What really drew me to it is how unusual or unique the topic sounded. For example, we could just look at the title. The title is Moving Crucifixes. I wanted to understand why in the 20th century, at a time of modernization, politics, and social changes, villagers in Spain were still reporting miraculous religious events. It felt like an ideal opportunity to see how tradition and modernity intersects in Europe today, tying directly into the topics we've been discussing in class. And lastly, it is something that is very relevant to my beliefs, and so I find it something that I will enjoy reading, and that's why I chose this book. To give you a summary, in the pages that I have read, the author, Christian, looks at reports of crucifixes or religious statues that were said to have moved, wept, or even given messages to villagers. And these reports often came from rural communities in Spain during the 20th century. What's interesting is how these events shaped people's identities. Entire villages became known for hosting a miracle, and Christian shows how that brought people together while also attracting the attention of priests, journalists, and sometimes even skeptics. In this section, the author also explores how stories about the crucifixes were told, who witnessed them, and how neighbors reacted, and whether outsiders believed them. And while I was reading the first few sections, I wondered, why do people believe in religious visions only at certain times and place? Well, in this book, the author William Christian explores that question by looking at reports of group visions in rural Spain, specifically in Galicia, Valencia, Cantabria, and Navarre in the early 1900s. One of the most famous cases was at Limpias in March 1919, when many claimed to see Jesus suffering on the cross during a church mission service. The author, Christian, looked at these events against a backdrop of social conflict and anti-clerical movement of the time, showing how gender and church politics affected both what the visionaries experienced and how others responded. Christian begins with the visionaries in the parishes, then moves outward to church authorities at every level. This includes the Vatican. He links the vision of Catholic traditions such as missions and Lourdes pilgrims and shows how their influence spreads internationally within Europe. Using drawing on oral testimony, church records, newspapers, and religious writings, the author Christian finds that different groups interpreted the moving crucifixes in many different ways. Some saw them as part of a prophetic chain of apparitions, others as God's response to political turmoil, and many locals as signs to establish new shrines. But ultimately, his study highlights how ordinary people express their deepest concerns and hopes through religious images. Connections to the course material. So, how does this book connect to the materials we are studying, you may ask? Well, we often talk about modernization as it replaces faith with science. But Christians' work shows that local religious practices don't disappear so easily and are passed down from generation to generation through many different mediums. It also connects to some of the films and readings that we have seen in class that highlights how tradition survives in the changing times. Just like we discuss in class, culture is not fixed. It adapts and responds to social change even when it comes to miracles. Reflections on learnings. So far in this course, I've learned that anthropology isn't just about studying exotic cultures far away, it's also about looking closely at everyday life in places like Europe. This book helped me see how people find meanings in events that might look strange or unbelievable from the people from the outside looking in. It also taught me about the methods anthropology uses, in which the author, Christian, also uses, which are mix of interviews, archives, and observation in order for us to get a full picture of what these miracles are meant to people. So for my final thoughts, I definitely recommend this book to anyone curious or fascinated about religions, folklores, or cultural identity of Europe, as it raises big questions about faith, modernity, and how communities respond to events that they can't fully explain. Overall, reading just a small section of moving crucifixes in modern Spain already gave me a new insights into how anthropology explores the connections between the tradition and the modern life in Europe. Thank you for listening.